The Pre-Med Year, session number 389. Hello, and welcome to the Pre-Med Years, where we believe that collaboration, not competition, is key to your success. I'm your host, Dr. Ryan Gray, and in this podcast, we share with you stories, encouragement, and information that you need to know to help guide you on your path to becoming a physician. Welcome to the Pre-Med Years. My name, as I mentioned earlier, is Dr. Ryan Gray. I hope you're having a great day. I want to play for you the audio from my most recent YouTube video. And the YouTube video is all about how to answer the COVID-19 question that is on the ACOMAS primary application, and that will likely be in many medical schools' secondary applications for the AMCAS or TMDSAS application schools. So COVID-19 is going to be a very common question about how this impacted you, whether financially, whether scholastically, whether home life-wise. What did that look like? And I'm going to give you my thoughts in that recording. If you want to watch on video, you can do that as well. If you don't subscribe to me on the YouTube channel, don't subscribe to my YouTube channel, I highly encourage you to check it out. It's premed.tv. Premed.tv will take you right to my YouTube channel. Every Monday, hopefully, we're releasing a video. Tuesdays, we're releasing our application renovation videos, which students are loving. Wednesdays are now going to be for the MCAT podcast, and a lot of times the old Pre-Meds podcast as well. I'll do the video there. The MCAT podcasts, we are jumping into Blueprint MCAT's full-length 1, which if you don't get, Blueprint MCAT is now Next Step, or Next Step is now Blueprint MCAT, and they have the second best full-length exams out there. And you can get those full-length exams by going to medicalschoolhq.net/blueprint, and I encourage you to use that link because I get a little bit of beer money when you use that link. It's called an affiliate link, and I get a small commission when you use that link. And a lot of people are like, oh, you only support them because you get an affiliate commission. Actually, I get affiliate commissions for lots of MCAT companies, but Blueprint is the one I recommend. But anyway, the MCAT podcast that I do with Blueprint, we are going over full-length 1, which you get for free when you sign up for their diagnostic, as well as some other free tools. So full-length 1, we're going to go through every week. We're going to go through a passage. We're going to go through a set of discrete questions, week by week, going through. And so if you take that full length and you want to be like, oh, I missed that question, you can go and find that video once they're all out there and really get a good breakdown of what went wrong or what went right with that question. So those are on the YouTube channel as well. Thursdays are Ask Dr. Gray videos. So the YouTube channel's hopping. We're going to have some success stories on there as well. The students love those application renovation videos on Tuesdays. So we're going to have some success stories eventually. This would be much easier once quarantine is over and once COVID is past us to a certain point. But yeah, so YouTube, premed.tv, go and watch the videos. Again, this is the audio from one of those videos. So the audio will sound a little bit different than my normal podcast. If you're listening to this on May 6th, as this episode comes out, and you haven't registered for the MCAT, you can text the word MCAT. Text the word MCAT if you're in the U.S. to 720-361-0748. If you text the word MCAT to that number, you will get automatically signed into a list where tomorrow morning on the 7th of May, when the MCAT registration opens up, I will send you a text. My system will. I won't individually send the text messages. There's almost 5,000 students signed up on this list already. If you need to register for this huge cluster of a mess that is the MCAT right now, go and text. Again, 720-361-0748. Text the word, just a single word, MCAT, to that number, and we'll send you a text message. All right, without further ado, let's go and jump in to our episode today. So what I want to talk to you today about is The essays that are going to pop up on the application cycle, probably most likely, I know, given this application cycle for starting medical school in 2021, and maybe part of the application for a couple years to come as students who are impacted by COVID-19 continue to apply to medical school. And that's the question really that's going to pop up, that we know it's going to pop up on the primary application for a COMIS, right? The DO medical school application, and how many medical schools have either said or have rumored to be including in the secondary essays, which is a question centered around how has COVID-19 impacted you? Medical schools want to know how you have been impacted by this. And I think it's something that we should talk about how to write about, because there are probably going to be good ways to write about it and bad ways to write about it, just like there are good ways to write a personal statement, bad ways to write a personal statement, good ways to write a disadvantaged essay, bad ways to write a disadvantaged essay. So let's start off with just the general question: how has COVID-19 affected you? Now, a lot of you have been kicked out of your dorms. Obviously, classes moving online, labs are online, jobs have been canceled or closed, and so you've been fired or furloughed or whatever. A lot of that information is going to be useful for medical schools. Don't look at it just from an extracurricular / medicine standpoint to say, oh, COVID-19 affected me because I wasn't able to get in my research. I wasn't able to fit in my shadowing hours. I wasn't able to whatever, right? A lot of students are going to focus on the clinical side of things, the activity side of things that were canceled because of COVID-19. At the end of the day, the application is all about your story, not just the checkboxes that you think you have to get through to apply to medical school. And so when it comes to your application, and when it comes to a question about how COVID-19 has affected you, don't just focus on those checkboxes. Focus on your story. Did you have to come home to an abusive environment? Did you have to come home to not a home, right? Were you kicked out of your dorm and had to live in your car? Tell that story. It may be difficult to tell that story. And a lot of you will be hesitant to tell that story because you think, oh, I don't want the school to take pity on me. I don't want them to think negatively about me. I don't want them to be concerned that because I'm homeless now, that it's going to be an issue in the future when I'm in medical school. Don't worry about how the medical schools are potentially going to look at some of these things that you're going to talk about. Because when you talk about the impact of leaving school, of going to classes online, of being in an environment that is not conducive to being a student, and now all of a sudden your home life is struggling, your school life is struggling, right? Talk about that. Tell a story about those things. You need to focus on you and your story during this time. I saw a headline on one of the major news channels' websites that talked about what it's like to be in Hong Kong living in a 100 square foot house. They called them like home cages or something. I forget the term that they used, but really, really small houses in Hong Kong and what it's like to live in quarantine in one of those. Now, I don't think we have houses that small, even in New York City here, but some of you may be going home, right? You've been kicked off of campus, kicked out of the dorms, and you're going home to a 2-bedroom apartment or a 1-bedroom apartment where there's 5 or 6 or 7 people living in that apartment. What is that like, right? Some of you are going home to alcoholic parents. What is that like? Some of you are going home to abusive households. What is that like? What is it like to go from being on campus, being in a dorm, working a job to maintain your food and other needs from a monetary standpoint? What is it like to be kicked out of all of that, not have a job, not have any money coming in? Tell that story. Showing what you've been able to accomplish through this adversity, not just to say, hey, look at me, look how awesome I am, but just showing others the adversity that you've been through
will help a lot of you through this process, will help a lot of you get into a school that maybe wouldn't have looked at you before because on paper it didn't look like you really went through a lot of adversity because you didn't want to open up about that adversity before, but now you want to take advantage of, it's really not the right term, but you really want to use this opportunity now to really tell your story in a different light. Now, the Texas application has always kind of had this optional essay as part of their application, where a lot of students use this time to use that application, use that essay to tell a story similar to this. Now, all of you will likely have an opportunity through a COVID-19 question to talk about adversity that you've been through. I don't think you need to mention anything specifically about, oh, my research hours were cut or, oh, my shadowing hours were cut. If you want to briefly mention that stuff, great. The medical schools are already going to know that. They're already going to know that the majority of extracurriculars have been cut because of this, right? Unless you're working as an EMT or working as a scribe or working as a CNA or working wherever and you don't stop work, a lot of you have been kicked out of your volunteer positions, kicked out of the hospital, kicked out of clinical experiences and clinical settings because of COVID-19. The medical schools know that and understand that already. Now, unfortunately, on the application itself, there really isn't an opportunity to talk about, well, I was going to do this, I was going to do that. And maybe this COVID-19 question is a small place for that, and that is okay as well. Really, at the end of the day, remember that the application in general, COVID-19 or not, is the opportunity to tell your story, not to just show all the checkboxes that you've marked off. And so as you are thinking about this COVID-19 question, don't think about it from these aren't the checkboxes that I haven't been able to check off because of COVID-19. And that's where a lot of you will go. And that will not do a good job of telling your story. So be careful with that aspect of it. Please be careful with that part of it. So moving forward with your application, again, not checkboxes, stories. Talk about you and your stories and how you have been impacted in that way, in your life, not just those checkboxes. I hope this was helpful for you to get you through this small part of the process. Remember, the ACOMAS application will have the COVID-19 question built into the primary. A lot of medical schools are going to ask for it in the secondary essays. Go to secondaryapps.com for more information about secondary essays. We'll have some information there as well.
All right, so there you have it. Hopefully that was helpful. Remember, I don't know if I didn't really talk about it in the video itself, but this essay doesn't have to be all pity, all woe is me. If something succeeded for you, if you had some benefits from quarantine, if some happy things happened, that's okay to talk about too, right? This isn't just the negative side of things. It doesn't have to be, although a lot of it is. It doesn't have to be. So hopefully this episode helped. I'd love more ideas for what to talk about in these YouTube videos. If you want to go leave a comment on the YouTube video today about what you're hoping to see in the future, again, premed.tv. And remember to check out the blueprint, diagnostic, and full length that we are going to be going over on the YouTube channel now for the MCAT podcast. Again, medicalschoolhq.net/blueprint for that. I hope you have a great week, a great day, and I'll talk to you next time here on the Pre-Med Years.
This is MedEd Media.